History's strangest and most unsettling moments caught on camera. From Victorian death rituals to wartime medical practices, these photos reveal a past you won't believe. Subscribe to History Unveiled for rare glimpses into forgotten history. Victorian-era post-mortem family portrait. Parents pose with their deceased daughter. Death photography was common practice when cameras were rare and expensive. Families preserved one final image of loved ones before burial, the only photograph many families could afford. Elderly man photographed after death. Another Victorian post-mortem portrait. Before modern embalming, bodies were photographed quickly, sometimes posed in lifelike positions, sometimes eyes painted on closed lids. Death captured as keepsake in era when mortality claimed young and old alike. Luna Park, Seattle. Clown Uncle Hiram poses with pig and two dogs in Studebaker Jr. wagon. Amusement park operated 1907 through 1913 on pier at Duwamish Head. Featured figure 8 roller coaster, Shoot the Chutes, Cave of Mystery, Canal of Venice, Human Ostrich, Joy Wheel, and Infant Electrobator Baby Incubator exhibit. Early entertainment mixing animals, performers, bizarre attractions. Infant incubators as amusement park exhibits. Can you imagine that today? Winwick Hospital, 1957. Electroconvulsive therapy session. Patient restrained during treatment. Psychiatric medicine, using electricity to treat mental illness. Procedure performed without anesthetic in many facilities. Controversial then, still debated now. World War I era. Ergonic chair for electrical treatment. Used for psychological effect in psychoneurotic cases. Shell-shocked soldiers strapped into device receiving electrical current. Military medicine attempting to cure combat trauma through shock therapy. Desperation to return men to battlefield. But electrical treatment wasn't the only shocking medical practice of the era. Temporary hospital at Vichy, France. Patients showing wound of nose, cheek, left eye, forehead during facial reconstruction process. From Fernand Lemaitre collection. Pioneering plastic surgery techniques developed to repair catastrophic war injuries. Doctors learning reconstruction on patients with nowhere else to turn. French veteran of First World War demonstrates face mask designed to disguise wounds, 1920. Disfigured soldier wearing prosthetic covering destroyed features. When reconstruction failed, artists created painted masks matching skin tone, attempting to restore normalcy to faces war had destroyed. Soldier F, appearing to have worse disfigurement among Anna Coleman-Ladd's patients. Left image shows extent of injuries. Right shows him wearing bandage and face mask. Before and after revealing both horror and hope. Medical art meeting where surgery reached its limits. These masks were painted to match each soldier's complexion. Remarkable artistry serving desperate need. Soldier B poses for photograph, showing horrific extent of injuries, taking chunk from his face. Documentation of war's brutality on human features. Medical photography recording what words couldn't describe. Individuals suffering representing thousands who returned home unrecognizable. Doullens, France, April 1918. REMC orderlies loading British and French wounded onto hospital train. Injured soldiers transferred from battlefield to treatment facilities. Railway cars converted to mobile hospitals. War's casualties moving through complex evacuation system. Survival depending on speed of transport. Behind institution walls, suffering often went unseen. Youngstown, Ohio, 1946. Female patient restrained in straitjacket, sits alone on bench crying in mental institution. Isolation as treatment, restraint as care. Psychiatric facilities, warehousing those society deemed unfit. Suffering documented but rarely addressed. Peter, also known as Gordon or Whipped Peter. Escaped American slave whose scarred back became evidence of slavery's brutality. Extensive keloid scarring from repeated whippings photographed during Civil War. The scourged back photos circulated widely through abolitionist movement. One of most notable photographs of 19th century United States. Image that changed minds about peculiar institution. This photograph helped turn public opinion against slavery. One image changing history. Buchenwald concentration camp. For young survivors photographed after liberation. hollow eyes staring into freedom. Children who witnessed industrialized death. Faces too young to carry such ancient grief, yet bearing it nonetheless. International Voluntary Services photograph from Mennonite Church Archives, Goshen, Indiana. Relief workers documenting humanitarian efforts. Faith communities responding to global suffering. Aid provided where governments failed. Buchenwald survivor displays tattooed arm. Though Holocaust Encyclopedia notes concentration camp prisoners received tattoos only at Auschwitz, not Buchenwald. Numbered forearm becoming symbol of systematic dehumanization, regardless of which camp inflicted it. Identity reduced to digits. Island warfare in the Pacific produced casualties that overwhelmed field hospitals. Guadalcanal Hospital. Soldiers wounded in Battle of Peleliu. Lower right. Private First Class Marcel Baldinger, 1053rd Platoon, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division, bandage covering head wound. Island warfare's casualties, filling Pacific medical facilities. Tropical heat compounding infection risks. Auburn State Prison, New York, 1908. Demonstration of execution by electric chair. Capital punishment entering modern age. Death delivered through current instead of rope. Progress measured in methods of killing. Witnesses observing state-sanctioned death. Florida, around 1903. Convicts leased to harvest timber. Chain gang of young African-American prisoners performing forced labor. Common practice in American South. Prisoners chained together for menial or physically challenging work. System satisfying government labor needs while generating state revenue. Practice ceased by 1950s, though experiencing small resurgence in 1990s. Slavery rebranded as criminal justice. Chain gangs operated well into the 20th century. Many of you may remember seeing Wesley, Stanislaus County, California. Migratory labor camp from Farm Security Administration. Temporary shelter for displaced agricultural workers. Dust Bowl generation following harvests across California valleys. Families living in camps between jobs. Crumpsall Workhouse, circa 1895 through 97. 23 boys institutionalized together. Victorian Britain warehousing impoverished children. Young faces showing deprivation and strict discipline. Childhood shaped by poverty and institutional control. Workhouse system punishing those born into hardship. Some places hold silence that speaks louder than words. Abandoned Holocaust camp. Barbed wire rusts. Guard towers stand empty. This place once imprisoned Jewish people and those who defied the Reich. Now only silence fills yards where thousands suffered. Infrastructure of genocide left standing as evidence. Auschwitz main camp, Poland, around 1947. Post-war photograph of gas chamber for mass murder. Cold concrete walls. Shower heads that never brought water. Only death disguised as hygiene. Chamber preserved as testimony to industrial killing. Hamburg, Germany, 1942 through 45. Royal Air Force Bomber Command aerial view. Ruined residential and commercial buildings, south of Albechtel Park in Albek District. Entire neighborhoods erased from above. Strategic bombing reducing city blocks to rubble. Total war brought devastation to cities across Europe. Entire generations witnessed this destruction. Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. Main entrance to war prison barracks. Double barbed wire fence surrounds compound. American soil holding prisoners far from battlefields. Interment infrastructure on home territory. United States General Hospital, Division I, Annapolis. Unidentified emaciated prisoner of war from Belle Isle, Richmond. Previously misidentified as Andersonville survivor. Skeletal frame draped in loose skin. Survival barely achieved through months of captivity. Starved Serbian prisoner of war photographed by Italian factor in Austria. Bones visible beneath paper-thin flesh. Hunger weaponized against captives. Deliberate starvation as policy. The liberation of concentration camps revealed horrors beyond imagination. Dachau concentration camp. Starved bodies of prisoners, transported from another camp, lie where they fell. Death delivered by train. Liberation arriving too late for these souls. Bodies awaiting burial detail. Sidi Rezegh, Western Desert, 1941. Battlefield remains scattered across sand. Tanks burned to husks. Bodies left where they dropped. War's debris under merciless sun. North African campaigns forgotten dead. War of Lapland. Ivelo's burned village. Scorched earth policy made visible. Finnish village sacrificed to German strategy during withdrawal. Homes reduced to charred timber. Civilians displaced by military necessity. Silent cities. Typical British cemetery, 1919. Rows of white crosses stretching toward horizon. Great War's permanent population. Fields converted to graveyards. Scale of loss measured in identical markers. Many of you had relatives who fought in these wars. These cemeteries hold generations. Bergen-Belsen Camp, April 1945. Pile of shoes immediately after British liberation. Countless pairs belonging to tens of thousands imprisoned here. Many perished from starvation, disease, abuse. Footwear outlasting owners. Personal effects becoming evidence. Newly liberated Dachau concentration camp. Survivors searched through massive pile of prisoner clothing, looking for anything familiar. Reclaiming identity from mountain of stripped belongings. Everything taken. Now everything returned to chaos. Courcelette, France, 1916. Destroyed church. Scene of destruction and obliteration. Mounds of building rubble dominate picture. 2 damaged walls remain. Faith tested by artillery. Sacred architecture reduced to ruins. Richmond Male Orphan Asylum, 1900 Amelia Street, 1909. Institutional care for boys without families. Brick walls housing forgotten childhoods. Orphanages warehousing children society couldn't place. Auschwitz 1. Yard between blocks 10 and 11 showing replica execution wall. SS men killed prisoners with shots to base of skull. After execution, corpses carried to crematorium. Murder made routine. Wall preserved as memorial to systematic killing. Inside institutions where treatment and confinement blur together. West Riding Lunatic Asylum, Wakefield, Yorkshire. Elderly man, wearing checkered uniform strapped into restraint chair. Photograph attributed to Henry Clark. Victorian psychiatry treating mental illness through physical imprisonment. Restraints replacing understanding. Studley Park Lunatic Asylum, Melbourne, 1870 through 75. American and Australasian Photographic Company documented Gothic architecture housing mentally ill patients. Australia, warehousing troubled citizens behind imposing stone walls far from public view. Massachusetts General Hospital, Boston, July 3, 1847. Historic daguerreotype of early ether operation by Southworth and Hawes. Surgeons John Collins Warren, Jonathan Mason Warren, Henry Jacob Bigelow performing procedure. Dawn of painless surgery captured in silver. Medical revolution beginning. Imagine surgery before anesthesia. This photograph marks the moment pain during operations became optional. Periro Hospital, 1956. Training session demonstrating electroconvulsive therapy. Nurses restraining patient, actually nurse playing role, to protect from injury during treatment. ECT administered without anesthetic or muscle relaxants then. Later reformed with sedation, though remaining controversial into 21st century. Lieutenant Colonel G.G.S. Archer's photograph collection. Albums documenting surgery division at Stationary Hospital in Rouen and field ambulance during First World War. Medical Corps treating endless wounded. Battlefield medicine evolving through terrible necessity. Pennsylvania Hospital for Mental and Nervous Diseases, 44th and Market Streets, Philadelphia. First floor waiting room with fireplace on south wall. Elegant architecture masking institutional confinement. Gilded cage for society's troubled minds. Before modern medicine, diseases required extraordinary measures for survival. National Museum of Health and Medicine. Man with polio encased in iron lung visiting with family gathered close. Metal cylinder breathing for him while loved ones touch what they can reach. Connection maintained through machinery. Love persisting through paralysis. Stannington Sanatorium, Morpeth, Northumberland. Britain's first sanatorium for tuberculosis children. Senior girls photographed as surgical cases. Young patients recovering from operations meant to collapse diseased lungs. Childhood measured in hospital beds and procedures. Auschwitz Block 10. Nazi physician Karl Klauberg photographed between 1941 and 44. Performed medical experiments on prisoners without consent or mercy. Torture disguised as research. Holocaust medical butchers working under clinical pretense. Dachau concentration camp, Germany, 1944. Romani victim of Nazi experiments attempting to make seawater drinkable. Forced to consume only seawater until body failed. Genocide conducted through pseudoscientific cruelty. These crimes led to modern medical ethics laws. Nuremberg Code emerged from these atrocities. Nurse with patients, location unknown. Care given in era when treatments remained limited and outcomes uncertain. Compassion offered where medicine could only comfort, not cure. University of Pennsylvania Medical School. First-year students in dissecting room of laboratory building. Young physicians learning anatomy through cadaver study. Death teaching living how to preserve life. Medical education's necessary confrontation with mortality. Battle of Bataan, January through April 1942. American and Filipino medical workers with Red Cross personnel treating wounded near front lines. Makeshift hospital wards established in jungle clearings. Fighting exhaustion, disease. Death while saving soldiers under fire. Medicine practiced amid combat. From death rituals to medical experiments. Asylum walls to battlefield hospitals. These rare moments reveal history's stranger truths. Subscribe to History Unveiled for photographs that challenge everything you thought you knew about the past.